Amit, you
Yes,
can switch
Linda.
on. I can hear
Yeah,
you.
hi.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I switched on my video as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hi, Linda, Julia, and everybody. And thank you. I can see certain people live on YouTube as well. So thank you, everybody, for sparing your valuable time to come to listen to this particular webinar. I'm just sharing my screen and we'll immediately start.
Yeah, I can see your presentation. Yeah.
Okay, you can see the presentation, right?
Yeah, I can.
Yes, so at any point of time, I'll switch off my video right now. And at any point of time, you guys feel that some voice is not clear or I need to go back for a particular slide, let me know.
Okay, let's do that.
Sure. So hi again. So today's topic is how to get a job as a product manager and how to keep it. And before we start, certain disclaimers. So what is going to happen over the next 60 minutes is that I'll be telling you some blunt truths about what product management is and how we are going to structure it. So the important thing to know is that there is no magic wand to get a PM job. It is all your skills, your efforts, and certain bit of luck which will help you land the job. So sorry, there is no secret sauce being revealed here. So if you were expecting to see or get some secret sauce, sorry to burst your bubble. There are very few PM roles in every company compared to most of the other roles. You will find a lot many roles for the software developer, for a QA guy, even for the sales team. But PM jobs are very limited, so they are in demand and hence they are very competitive. Product management is a vast domain. We have just a few minutes today, so I have merely tried to touch the bare basics. So it may even appear that we are going at a very high level 30,000 feet view. It may appear superficial and at times even overlapping, but then there is much more to product management, which Linda and her team would have taken all you guys over the last few months, and for more to come, it would be revealed in much more detail. What is also important to know is that product management domain works very differently in different companies across industries and across geos. It is not at all standardized. What it actually means is just like a software developer course or a designer course, which is more or less streamlined and structured and the expectations input output are very clear. It is not like that in product management. What actually happens is you may even get questions like, what does a PM do? So don't get butthurt. Now, the reason I'm saying this is this is coming out of my personal experience. In one of my earlier companies, in an all hands meeting, the company MD actually asked me, what do you do? You are a product manager, what do you do? So it's very necessary that, you clear the air, you are clear about what product management is, what is expected out of you, your role, and then set everything correct. The audience for this presentation is presumed to be aspiring PMs who need guidance. So if you have already been a PM or working since last couple of years or reading and part of the Product Star course, more or less, most of the things what I'm going to tell you, you would be aware about it. But there may be certain things which I have written here out of my experience and having talked to so many PMs over last few months and years. So this would be valuable to you as well. So the information what I'm sharing here is publicly available on the internet. Anybody who can Google and who can Google well can get all the information. I'm not saying that this is all 100%, something which has been created out of my own experience. It is there, but information is obviously there out on the net, and I'll merely try to pick up the best points, whatever I could see, whatever I could read and listen from various places and collated it for you. You can reach out to me on the email address given. I've also shared my phone number for more details, and you can even ping me to join any WhatsApp group which I keep creating for knowledge sharing. And just as a disclaimer, the views expressed here are of my own, not of Product Star Global or even of my employer. Yeah, so a small slide about me. So I am a microbiology graduate, and after that I did my MBA. I worked in retail sales. Passion got me into a quizzing platform, contesttowin.com. Accidentally, I became the product manager of the quizzing mobile game there. I learned on the job. I fell. I rose. It happened a couple of times. I learned again with my peers, with my boss from the net, and then I finally delivered. And thus the journey continued from gaming to fintech to edtech, and now I'm here. So as Ugwe says, there are no accidents. So this is a very famous slide, what most of you would have seen everywhere. This is about, what product management is. It is the intersection of user experience, the technology and business. But then please read the sentence on top. There isn't enough time on this earth to learn everything. You could learn about these 3 circles. So as helpful as this diagram is, it ends up being impractical. So what it actually means is you need to have an understanding of all these 3. You should be appreciating it. But then do you need to be very, very deep in all of these? Maybe no. So this is a slide what I've taken from, from one of the publicly available presentations. Product managers are multidisciplinary. A good product manager must be experienced in at least one of the 3 circles what we saw earlier. They should be passionate about all 3 and conversant with practitioners in all. So a good product manager needs to know everything, but how much in detail, that depends on his or her superpower. So how to prepare for a PM role if you're an aspiring PM? So we all know it is tough being a PM, becoming a PM, and tougher being one. The reason why this is tougher being one is you may land a PM job, but with the stakeholders asking you different questions, different deliverable dates, customers always, breathing fire down your neck because of the bugs which are there, your bosses asking you for timely releases, for increase in metrics. It's actually very tough. So, for a person who is not a PM, it's the quintessential chicken and egg problem. You can't join the club unless you're already a member of the club. So what are the next steps? How do you become a PM? What is that mindset which is needed for you to become the PM? So before that, what is important to know is you need to evaluate yourself. Why do you want to become a product manager? So now there are a dozen equally good or even better jobs out there. You need to ask yourself, why do you want to become a PM? What are the product problems which you are going to solve? Which is the type of company you want to join? What's your implementation intention? What actually means is, do you want to join a startup? So when you say you want to join a startup, you need to understand that you are compromising and sacrificing your comfort, which you might have thought that you would have. A startup is, much more than a 24/7 alertness, right? Even in the big billion days, even the Bansals used to sleep in the Flipkart office with their mattresses there, right? So you need to know what kind of product problems you're going to solve, what is the kind of company you want to go to, and you have to evaluate yourself as a product manager. Why do you want to do this? Now, when you are going ahead on this job search, you need to treat that job search like you treat a product problem. So if your CEO tells tomorrow, hey, I need to solve this problem, this metric is down. Now, how are you going to evaluate it? You'll be doing some user research, you'll be creating some personas, you'll be coming up with some hypothesis. So all these steps need to go into when you're doing your own job search as well. Because when you become the product manager, it is not only you becoming the CEO from a mindset point of view, but also the janitor of that product. So you are everybody from the starting till the end. It is your product. It is your baby. So there are certain traits which are needed if you want to become a product manager. You need to have a very high ownership, a 24/7 learning curve, an entrepreneurial mindset, and you should always and also have a very high degree of customer empathy. So when I say when you should have a customer empathy, what it actually means is if the business guy comes to you and says that, hey, I want this particular problem to be solved, don't solve it because it is not bringing in business. Solve it because this is a customer pain point. How well do you know the customer? Do you actually talk to him every week? Do you actually understand from the data points what your analytics teams gives you? Do you go always via gut? These are the things you need to balance, and you need to actually master before you embark on this journey. People say I love to solve problems, but it's not an interview question. It's about your whole life. When you say you want to solve customer problems, do you understand what the problem is? Do you understand where the customer is thinking of that problem, that genesis? Are you in his or her shoes? All those things are important. It's also necessary that you listen with empathy, not because a gun is pointed at you, but because you actually want to do that. You should always be flexible, process oriented, but all of these depends on demand as well. At times you need to be process oriented, at times you need to be flexible as well. So basically you're embracing ambiguity. Are you okay with that? One of the other things what product managers actually do is they need to take charge, but do they get authority to do that? No, they have to do it via influence. One of my earlier colleagues told me that she actually wants to become a product manager because they are like mini CEOs. Is this why you want to become? Is this the reason because they are called as mini CEOs? Perhaps that may be your North Star, but then the road till that destination is not that simple. You also need to be responsible without blaming others when others mess up. You can't just throw your QA guy or the project manager under the bus when there are guns blazing at you. You need to be responsible. You need to have that leadership mindset. And most importantly, you need to constantly keep on asking why, why, why. It is the why which actually acts like the conscience of the customer. You are like that, like watchman of that tower, wherein no requirements, nothing can come in, nothing can go out before getting a clearance from your end. So you need to be very, very sure that you are having that right approach. You flutter feathers at times, but it's important that you keep on asking, why do we want to do it? What is that pain point, which is what it is going to solve? Are we doing it for the customer? All these questions will come, but important is you should be that single person in the room who keeps on asking, why are we doing it? So Linda, any questions from anybody till now, or can I continue ahead?
I've got just the question basically. Can you hear me? Yeah. What are usually the biggest challenges while you are startup PM, basically?
Okay, so some of these things would be covered ahead as well. So I just wanted to know if there is any specific question related
Yeah,
to.
not yet. Yeah, we're gonna get to that section, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm continuing.
Yes, you're continuing.
Okay, so now that you have given a tick mark to all those bullet points in the previous slide, congratulations. You have managed to convince yourself that you have it in you, what it takes to become a PM. Boom, congrats. So the basics, what you can do. So one of the most simple things what people normally do, and I'm not saying that this is a compulsion, but these are the things what you can do. You can undertake courses and training programs. So Product Star is one of them. Linda just walked you through now, and after the presentation also she'll show you more details about the 6-month program. So taking courses and training programs, just like Product Star, there are a dozen other things out there in the market as well. You can evaluate them, you can take free classes, and you can know whether it is good for your career or not. So that is one of the plain vanilla, no-brainer kind of thing, that if you want to enter an arena, okay, let me do that course. Some of the other courses which are world-renowned are the SAFE courses, the CSPO courses. Now outside India and for project managers, these are much in demand. In India, I haven't seen a lot of demand for these framework courses, but this may help you stand out. Important is to build a strong resume and a very strong LinkedIn profile. You need to create a PM brand for yourself. You need to differentiate, you need to stand out. So when you apply for a particular job, you need to tweak your resumes to fit the job description like a proper product market fit, not a force fit. So I'll give you an example. So what happens is a recruiter calls somebody, or somebody just copy pastes the recruiter's message in a WhatsApp group and says, hey, somebody, this particular company needs a PM with 5 years experience and strictly in edtech. Now, so there is somebody who doesn't have a job and he or she applies to that particular recruiter for that position. But hey, we have already talked about it, right? It is 5 years in edtech is what is needed. So the recruiter doesn't even come back to that particular person. Or at times, so now what can we tweak here? So now we have to understand that this is not a proper fit. So you can write in your cover letter that, hey, I don't have 5 years at tech, but I'm open to learn. These are the 3 things why I feel I'm good for this job. So you cannot force fit a particular resume for a particular job and expect that you will get selected. The same thing happens when people very clearly mention, recruiters very clearly mention that they need from premier institutes. Now, obviously, it can be very debatable that why do you need premier institutes even when I've got 10 years of PM expertise. But hey, that is the recruiter's job. He or she is merely conveying what the company's HR would have told. So all I'm trying to say is that Don't apply randomly everywhere. If you feel there a fit is there, like a proper product market fit, tweak your resume accordingly. If you have got tech experience, maybe for just 3-4 years, they're strictly asking for 5 years. Put more meat in that 3-4 years, which will appear as if you have done too many things. I'm not asking you to lie. I'm not asking you to exaggerate a lot, but all I'm saying is flesh it out much more so that it appears relevant. There is an important thing about the cover letter. I don't think many of us actually take pains to personalize the cover letters. Yes, recruiters don't have time. They may take just 3 to 5 seconds to actually, go through a particular resume. But at times when you take the pain of writing one paragraph of why you think you are the good fit for this job, believe me, it stands out. Be a part of the community. Product Star has a very good WhatsApp group, a Telegram group. There is an FB community out there. We have already talked about not to apply brute force. You have to check the requirements before you apply. And yeah, you need to network a lot. You need to check out meetups, interact with people, interact with product people, because that is where you want to be, right? You need to be in that circle to know the skills, to know the challenges, have that thought process, that mindset. So these are the basics what you can do. Talking about mindsets, we have already discussed about you need to own that why, because you would be the only person who would be talking about it. There are certain things which a product manager needs to do. The reason is you are the CEO of the product. Of course, you are the janitor as well, but it looks cool when you say you are the CEO. So you need to develop a leadership, analytical, and a decision-making mindset. Now, so don't think of it as, I need to make a 2-year plan or a 3-year plan and get this startup break even. Okay, that is there. What is more important is the decision-taking abilities, the decision basis of particular analytics, what you get, that ability, and taking it quickly, whether it is for one small CTA on a landing page or a major functionality, that needs to come from you. You shouldn't be having, doing analysis paralysis, sitting there, rushing to your boss every time a particular query comes to you by the QA guy or by the project manager. No, take decisions, which is absolutely fine. You may end up making or taking a couple of wrong decisions, but then there is an intent and there is a strong logical thinking why you did it. So as far as you explain it to your boss and you keep your top management involved and do frequent sync-ups, that's not a problem. It also shows that, your that leadership ability of about you going on to the product leader role. You need to be updated. You need to read a lot. You need to network. You need to interact. It always shows that you are, an ever evolving, eager to learn professional. And what is important and what actually helps is when you start reading a lot, there are certain mental models, there are certain thought processes outlined in the blogs, in the articles, in the books, which you can discuss. There is this book, Hooked, which talks about habit forming things. It talks about creating hooks. So now when you design a particular referral program or something which is going to become viral, these thought processes help you, carve things out in that particular manner. And of course, what also happens is that couple of sentences, anecdotes, stories taken from those books will also help you in the interviews. And the interviewer would also be happy to know that he or she is getting somebody who is an ever evolving professional. And you also need to prioritize and delegate. This is not just for product management. It is also to, it is actually also to build a lifestyle. It is all the more critical when you are a PM, but it is also more important to take it as a lifestyle. And I have personal examples from my life. At times I have ended up doing things which maybe at times the office peon needed to do, but I ended up doing it in spite of being a product lead in one of my earlier companies. Why? Because the things needed to be done. So you need to know that you need to prioritize it, you need to delegate things. But yeah, because you are owning the product end to end, at times you may end up needing to do that. But remember, you have just 8, 9, 10 hours, in your everyday life. So you may stretch, of course, but then you need to see what is the best hour you spend, whether it is attending meeting, whether it is writing long emails, fighting with stakeholders, explaining customers, or talking to customers to get insights, talking to stakeholders to understand their pain points. So value your time and work towards making your team succeed. A product manager per se doesn't do anything, but if you see it the other way, he or she does a lot many things. So the success of your project is the success is your success. But is it actually your success? It is the success of everybody in the team. So if you can make your team members succeed, your success is tied to theirs. One of the most important things what a product manager needs to do is update and upskill himself or herself. You need to read a lot. There are threads on Reddit. There are some brilliant handles on Medium. There is WhatsApp, Telegram, Slack, Facebook. There are newsletters, this Stratechery, Ken Norton's, Silicon Valley thing. These are marvelous, brilliant gold mines. There are some no miss books like the Lean Startup, Hook, the Lean Product Playbook, Cracking the PM Interview, which you actually should read. You should assimilate whatever is written there, because these are those things which are on the basis of which product management as a domain has actually flourished. So this is kind of the, those platforms, those cemented stuffs on which, the buildings get built. So it's necessary that you keep yourself upskilled. You update yourself by reading these blogs. Yeah, so I mentioned a couple of blogs here as well. PM Insider, PMHQ, Mind the Product. These are all brilliant reads. And there are some podcasts as well. So the list goes on and on. You can sync up with me separately to get such lists. So this is an interesting image, what you can see in front of you. This is the T-shaped individual. What it actually means is, take some time to, digest this. The T, the horizontal stuff, it actually tells you that you need to have a breadth of knowledge, skills, and experience. You should know at least something about everything. But what is the depth you're going to? Which is that superpower of yours? Is it tech? Is it analytics? Is it UI, UX? What is it? So before you go to depth, you should actually, as a PM, have, the breadth of knowledge, skills, and experience. You should be touching everything out there, and then you should actually be seeing which is that particular superpower of yours where you have to go in deep. Then there is something known as the essential skills. So I call them essential skills and not soft skills because you just cannot survive. Forget growing as a PM. You just cannot survive a product management job if you don't have these skills. And a variety of them are needed. Some of them are good communication skills. You need to talk, be able to convey what is there in your mind effectively, precisely to your stakeholders, to your subordinates, to your bosses. You should have impeccable listening skills. The C-suite will not, at most times, give you more than a minute. That's it. In that 1 minute, whatever they say, you have to imbibe. They may, just say a couple of sentences and you will say, hey, I've been hearing this day in, day out. But no, if the CXO of your company says a particular sentence to you, it means that that is etched in stone. You have to, take that maybe as a KPI, maybe as something to drive. So listen very, very carefully. Presentation skills, not only presentations like what I'm making. This is a very plain vanilla presentation. What is important is if you're going to present something, for example, you just made a release and then you need to check the impact of that particular release. You need to see what metric the release, what metric for that particular functionality was before, what did you do in the release, how much of that metric was increased in say T+7, T+14, T+28 days. So presentation of what you're going to do is again critical. Negotiation is, so this is exactly the same kind of negotiating skills what you have in your day-to-day life. You go to a grocery store, you tend to negotiate that. Why? Because that is your money. Here, it is about your efforts, about your team efforts. You may want to negotiate with a vendor. You may want to negotiate with the project manager. You may want to negotiate the timelines with the lead engineer. You may want to negotiate what project you want with your boss. So negotiating skill is a very, very critical skill. Otherwise, what you would end up doing is you will just say, okay, I can do this, I will do this, let me get more brownie points, I'll take this as well. And I've seen people near me who have been taking up more than what they can do. They end up miserably failing at all of them because evidently they didn't expect this to, this to increase this much. Always remember, whenever you take up certain new things, nobody would come back to you and say, hey, you're doing 10 things. It's okay that you do 50% in each of those 10 things. No. They will expect you to maybe take 6 or 7, but do a 90-95% thing in all of them. Stakeholder management skills. These are one of the most important skills you ever would need as a product manager. I just cannot say how much important this is. And the reason is product management, as I mentioned you, is still a skill, a domain which everybody today does not appreciate, does not value, because the questions which people may still hear, and I told you my personal incident in one of the other companies as well, right? People ask, what are you doing? What is your role? Why are you doing this? Somebody else can do it. But with today's, the way technology is changing, the speed at which software changes, and the expectation and the scale what comes into picture, product managers are more and more critical. So what actually happens is there is a lot of stakeholder pressure on you, which expects things to perform, to work seamlessly, beautifully. But each of those people, each of these stakeholders may not know what it entails to get things done. The business guy would say, hey, I need this feature because it will bring me new revenue. And business guys, unfortunately, what I have seen is they will mostly ask for things which are not there in your roadmap, because they may assume, it may be wrong, but they may assume that, hey, this thing may bring us more revenue. So it's necessary to keep your stakeholders informed about what you're going to do. It's necessary that stakeholders are managed, if I use the word, because ultimately product managers need to drive the company's business. You're not here just to make the customer happy, but you're also there to ensure that in a way the company's vision and the business goals also are satisfied. So stakeholder management is a very, very critical thing. And all this, what I've been saying, is a part of the storytelling. You need to weave a good story, and that is how you should be able to describe, communicate, and talk. And there is another thing which you need to know. You need to convey the bad news as soon as possible. And the reason is that 90% of times when things are going on normally, you wouldn't feel the heat. It is only that one feature not getting released on time which would actually be a nightmare for you, not only for you, for everybody who's involved in that particular release. So whenever you are syncing up with your boss, with your teammates, in your maybe weekly calls or fortnightly calls, you need to understand that you need to convey the bad news as soon as possible. And it's not just conveying the bad news saying, hey, this release is not happening. No, you need to tell them what is the status, why this has happened. Was there a estimation change, or did the developer or the QA guy did not write test cases, or they underestimated it in spite of working on weekends? Why are they not able to deliver? Whatever the case is. And you need to tell this bad news along with the potential solution as well, that this can be covered or this can be fixed in these particular time period. It's not just conveying the bad news, it is going there with a solution as well, because a good boss would obviously appreciate somebody breaking the news early than after the damage is done with a solution. That's what a mature professional does. And you need to get the essence of the question. The reason why I've written the last 2 points specifically is I've personally seen with some of my earlier colleagues that during meetings when maybe a junior colleague is asked a particular question, he or she may be ranting off a lot many things. I couldn't do this because of this happened with me, the guy said this. Hey, the C-suite is not interested in all these. What they're interested in knowing is what is the problem, or the current situation of the problem, and when are we going to do that. So you need to have good listening skills and answer it in a very crisp manner so that everybody's time is valued and you make the point. So yeah, so you need to keep your comms very strong. So the next 3 slides are certain skills about product management, and we'll quickly take you through them. So a small 1-minute query here. Linda, any particular questions regarding the slides which we just walked through?
I think you can just go on with your presentation now, and then we'll go to the question answer section. Yeah.
Perfect. So coming back here, so you need to develop. So there are many skills which a product manager needs. We have talked about the soft skills, the essential skills, but to get a job as a product manager, you need to have these 3 skills as the bare minimum. I'm not saying that others are not needed, but I've taken an example and will walk you through these three skills. So first is communicating requirements. So just think about, you sitting in a restaurant and telling what you want, ordering to the waiter, to the guy who comes to take your order, right? You will not give him a very plain Jane or at a 30,000 feet level saying that I want something tasty to eat. Do you say like that? No, you will say, I want a particular type of bread, I want a particular curry. When you talk about the curry, you ask what gravy color it is, whether it is spicy, what kind of ingredients are there. So just envision those things as product requirements. So I'll read out a sentence which I found on the net, and that is very, very important. Just dwell on it for a moment. Effective product specs are a critical part of building great software. They force critical thinking upfront, scale communication, and raise accountability, all leading to higher quality, lower schedule risk, and less wasted time. What it actually means is you cannot give as a product requirement document or a user story brain bulleted points just like this and expect the project manager, the scrum master, the product owner, or the tech lead, or the engineering manager, or the tech architect to think on your behalf. You are the product manager. It's necessary for you to write down the product specs at a very thought through level. So in one of my earlier companies, when PRDs were told were written, we always asked for times. We always asked for time to come back on that. We didn't say that, we'll give you this PRD maybe tomorrow or in a week's time. Even to estimate the effort which goes inside, we used to take a couple of hours. And the reason is you need to think through a lot. There may be many, many use cases, and you may not also want to do everything at one time. You can always have your product requirements in terms of phases. You can break it down, but even to think that you need time. So always be very thoughtful that your 1-pager, 2-pager, or 10-pager, or even if it's a 100-pager document, a lot of effort from the company's side, from the developer's side, goes into creating products basis your software requirements. So it's necessary you think through that. You need to be forced to critically think upfront. Only then a good product would come out. So product specs are which you should be focusing on, and tech specs are the how. So you say, I want a concurrency of 1,000 users. You may not be knowing what kind of library, tech stack, code goes into there. If you need to, raise some levels in Amazon RDS, you don't know that. You are not supposed to know the how of it. Leave that to the engineering guy. What's necessary is you have to write product specs nicely as user stories. So at a very high level, the 5 things what are needed are, you need to frame the problem you are trying to solve, because you have to bring all the stakeholders together. You need to explain why it is worth addressing. It may sound like a small business thing, but that's necessary. You have to promise clean, deliverable outcomes and goals. You need to tell them what is out of scope and how should we do it, or why are we doing it, all those things. You need to give context as well. There are assumptions, there are use cases, metrics. There is some evidence which your audience needs to understand the problem. They need to believe in the proposal. Yes, many times what would happen is, because the developer has been told to do something, he or she will be doing it. But where is their skin in the game? You should make everybody excited in your project, right? That is why we said that it's not about authority. It's about influencing people. You need them to buy your stuff. Think of your stakeholders as co-founders in your startup. Then there is the detailed solution. Your proposal should be detailed enough. It is like, to actually think, write, maybe draw things wherever needed. And timelines. There are things which can be made in a week, things which can be delivered tomorrow EOD, and there are things which will take 3 months. You need to be very clear. And it's not necessary that you are the only person who is going to do all this. Maybe your peers are needed in doing this. Maybe your boss would also be evaluating that. And always remember, product requirement documents or user stories are never correct the first time. It takes multiple iterations for the near perfect thing to come out, and it is mostly a working document. But it's always necessary that 90-95% whenever you are giving it for the day 0 of sprint grooming, and before you start it, that much of fleshing out has to happen. So now about the tech skills. So the first thing is, if you can learn. So I'm a non-tech guy. You saw my profile. I'm a microbiology graduate, and then I did my MBA. So I know how much it would have been of advantage to me had I learned to tech, but that's not it, right? So if you can learn to code, excellent, but that's not necessary. Is it critical? No. The reason is you need to be technically curious, because most of the times a good product is only as good as your tech output. So if you want to learn to code, yes, there are coding boot camps, there is free code. camp.org. There are tons of YouTube videos. There are Facebook groups if you're interested. But if you don't know how to code, that's okay. What you need to understand from a logical thinking point of view, and that will help you when you write your user stories as well, is you need to understand the tech stack, the front end, the middle layer, the APIs which enter into play, the database, the schema. You need to understand the system architecture, and system architecture need not be, in a very complicated level. You can ask the tech lead to, just draw it out on the whiteboard, create boxes, see how the data flow goes, how the data model is, which APIs are having which parameters, variables, what are the endpoints. At a high level, when you question the why does this happen? For example, if I'm clicking on a particular button which asks me to sign up, if there are three things which come into play, what are the three things there? Now, the reason why that is necessary is when I'm going to change that particular functionality tomorrow, I should have an understanding of the potential impact. And the reason is, if you read the last line, the other line, the dev team may respect you more if you're able to speak their language when terminologies fly in the room. So, think of it as this way. You're a product manager who is a tech guy who knows about coding, who has coded in past, and he still codes, for example. Second guy is, take the second persona. You're a product guy who knows more or less about coding, but you have not coded. And the third person is somebody who doesn't know anything about coding or nothing about the tech stack, system architecture at all. What may happen is the developers may not take a genuine interest in talking to you at this level, because whatever they would be speaking, it would be all Latin and Greek to you. So though you don't know programming or coding, it's necessary that you know basics, you are curious, you ask why, you have that technical curiosity quotient in you, so that those developers also bounce off their approach A, approach B with you, and you can help them. You can guide them, not from a tech point of view, obviously, because that is not your job, but from a user perspective. And believe me, when you go to that level, you will gain much more respect from the developer community as well. And you will also feel that you're enjoying working much more in things which you are not understanding. And of course, it helps you get better estimations when you do the story pointing. It will also help you understand the QA tasks in a much better manner. And important is each component of the system, when you know what contributes to where, it will help you take better decisions, trade-offs, because you are the final person who takes the call, what should be there in this particular release. So an understanding of all these features with that potential impact, it will help you take a more informed decision. But always remember, unless and until it is a very technical product, you don't need to know programming to be an effective PM. Then this is the second type of skills which are necessary for somebody who is trying to get the role of a product manager. There are many things which you can learn on the job, but with the talent pool continuously increasing and with more and more people trying for the same type of job, it is necessary that you have got that extra edge, that uniqueness in you. And what better than if you have certain skills in you which other aspiring product managers don't have. So I'm not asking you to have a course in design thinking. By the way, if somebody is keen, IDEO and Acumen have got a free human-centered design course. You can get that. But appreciation of good UI and UX is critical. When you see a screen or when you see two screens, and the prerequisite is you should know your users much before you see that screen. You should know what is the type of your TG, what are the demographics, what is the user behavior. With that insight in your mind, when you look at two screens, you should be able to step into the shoes of those users and say, hey, my user will like this thing better. Why? Because I know my user. Why? Because this particular TG does this. Why? Because competition for this particular domain is doing this. Why? Because today all the apps, websites, design processes are going in this particular model. So you need to appreciate good UI and UX. Also, when you create wireframes, mocks, and prototypes, it will help you. It will also give you, a much more confidence and buy-in from the design and the UI UX team. It will help you weigh in if your user would understand the graphic, the elements, the interaction, the flow, because you will also be, validating the prototypes which you would create or the design team would create. So basics of design is necessary. So now how does somebody go about it? go to YouTube, go to Facebook. There are so many groups, there are so many channels where there are good collection to initiative design upskilling. And when we say design, it's not necessary that you use tools like Figma or Sketch, which are the tools available, and you can take up trial stuff and you can play around with it. What you can also do is take a pen and paper, just take up a hypothetical product problem, try to do wireframes, see why do you want to put a particular box here. That is necessary, because what would happen is you need to anyways envision all those things when you are creating your PRD or your story. If that is in top of your mind, you can do this on pen or paper as well. One of the other ways to do is, keep an eye on the new websites, new apps which are released on the iOS App Store or the Google Play Store. Like, for example, I have given an app example by the name of Cred. That is a very good example of modern design. So you can take that up, you can do the usability testing, you can think what can be improved, you can critically analyze it. There are many ways for you to appreciate, critically criticize, positively criticize designs. That will sharpen up your skills. You need to read a lot for that as well, because there are people who have spent their lifetime in actually making a mark in this particular domain. So it's necessary that you understand what they have made and you are able to be in sync with that. Another point is understanding product patterns. So this is kind of the visual design philosophy. What happens is, for example, you will be using a particular color for a particular CTA. Just assume that it is green. So now every time a positive CTA is green, suddenly somebody makes it black. Now the user would be confused, because the user is adapted his behavior in that particular website or app for a particular flow. So all those things, you need to be sure what it is. It will help you when you're creating documents. It will help you when you're doing the UAT. It will help you when you're presenting in your review meetings and all. So now we'll go to ways of projecting yourself as a potential PM to recruiters. A small time check with Linda, and any questions on any of these slides, or should I continue?
I think you should continue, and then we can go to the question section. Yeah.
There are two types of ways, actually two methods by which you can pitch yourself to to recruiters. One, if you are already working in a company and you're trying to get an internal PM role. The second is external. So for internal PM roles, I'll give you examples. I have personally seen many business analysts, many developers, QA people, product ops, even design, marketing. Not only that, even field sales people who do well in product management. Now, yeah, there are exceptions, but what I'm trying to say is that product management is not a role which is of that elite of the particular class where you cannot break into. It's not like that. You can be a PM too, but obviously after having done certain things. So if you are in a company and there are some internal roles, there are various ways of approaching it. One of the best ways is interact a lot with your company's product team with an open mind. You can have water cooler moments with them. You can, have coffee with them. You can discuss with them over lunch. One of the ways of doing it is, offer, obviously with lots of humility, to help them to solve their current pain point. Normally, PMs would obviously be stretched and stressed as well. So if you are a BA, if you are a developer, if you are any of those teams where you are not directly product team member, and if you see that there is an opportunity, or if you are very keen to become a product manager, start interacting with the product team and discuss with them their pain points, their daily lives, how they go about it. See if you can, with all humility, take out some spare time of yours, obviously not in the office time, but your own me time, and you can try to solve some problems. You can give a fresh perspective. So the reason why I'm saying this is you will obviously have a clear bonding with that person, with that team member. You will also understand whether product management is that particular domain where you wanted to go to, or you are still in that bubble of, hey, I want to be a mini CEO. That is the reason I want to become a PM. You will have a more clear reality check. And another one of the other points is that when you discuss this and when you tell your boss as well that or your team lead that I am also trying to help somebody other than my normal regular job, that team lead, that boss of yours may also keep his eyes and ears open in case there is something for you in the company. Maybe he or she can put a word out for you with the HR or with the product leader. It is relatively easy to get ideas and improvise the current product of your company. So what I mean when I have written this is, if you are any of those designations or working in those domains which is written in the first bullet point, you are in the skin of the game, right? You are there deep inside the product, but not as a product manager. So if you're a tech guy and if you say that, hey, this API call takes this much amount of time, or there is accidentally one API call which goes in this particular screen which is not needed, the product guy may not know it, but to improvise the performance as a tech person you might know it. So being in the middle of that entire product in the development stage, there are more ways for you to actually, actually upsell ideas for developing the product or bettering the product. It is very easy to get those ideas to improvise the current product because you are in it. But all what is needed is think like a PM, then flesh it out. And I've personally seen developers doing it in some of the companies, and they have turned out to be very, very good PMs. Yeah, you can showcase it to the product team to exhibit your PM inclination. Also important is what happens is that, whenever a product team grows, there are some APM roles which come out. Now, you don't need to say that, hey, I got 6 years experience as a tech guy and I'm becoming a engineering manager. Now you're asking me to take APM role. Hey, that's, clashing with my ego and self-respect. I can't do that. No, don't think like that. You need to today get a foot in the door. If you want to enter product management, your number of years what you have worked in the other domain, they are valuable, but then don't use that to negotiate and say no to a good opening which comes in your company. Because as I told you, product roles are few. There is a lot of competition out there, and HRs, product leaders would take those people who have got a lot of skills rolled into one. Don't worry about designations and keep talking to your product head or the senior PMs or HR in some internal roles come up. And believe me, many PMs today are successfully having a PM role, and they started their journey from one of those domains which is written in the first point here, and then they took up an internal PM role. So this is one of the easiest ways to do. Now, if you are an external candidate, you are from an external perspective, you're an engineer fresh out of college. So it's necessary that it's not necessary. It's necessary that it's not necessary to think about being a PM right away. Wait, hold your horses. Join a good company where you can learn a lot, upskill yourself, create from few lethal arrows in your quiver, right? Be very sure that you are a champ in front end or in APIs, in the databases. Create a couple of skills for which you know that you are perfect. Create your own side project meanwhile if you can. So once you get some experience, decide your next steps. Don't jump into product management just because others are doing. You may not like it. I know engineers who say that I don't want a manager role because I don't have those communication skills. I know PMs who said that, hey, my life as a hands-on coding engineer was much better. And it also happens that, experienced developers are good PMs as well. So that experience is very, very, very valuable. Now, I have got also use cases when I have talked to people, tried to mentor or guide people. People are in a digital product company, they are in a non-PM role, and they want to apply outside. So I'm again saying, going back to the first slide, for internal PM roles, we just talked. For external roles, if you are a fresher, please stay out of product management unless you are pretty sure or there are some other reasons. We are now talking about the persona. What you are trying to see here is you're already in a digital product company, you are in a non-PM role, and you want to apply outside. So the first and the plain vanilla basic thing is learn about your company's product management culture, the processes well. If you're working in any company, you go outside and you interview for an APM role, and if you do not know what your current company is doing in product management, what is the culture, what is the process, it actually means you are not curious about it. It also means that you are a poor networker. It actually means that there is a black box of PM in your company. So there may be a black box in the negative sense, black box for other domains as well. Sorry. So first-hand knowledge is essential when you go outside. I'm also assuming that you would have read a lot about product management or have a side project in the working or already on it, and we'll discuss about it more. Important is to be where your recruiters are. So when you say that you want to apply for the job of a PM, and uh, you are trying to find the recruiters don't necessarily mean HR people. There are senior PMs who put out job openings, there are product leaders, there are co-founders. So recruiters can be HR, they can be product people, they can be anybody. Try to associate yourself with these people. Now you would ask where. It's not an offline thing, right? That you can just go somewhere and all of them are standing there and you can meet and greet and hustle with them. No, but there are online forums. You can answer on Quora, you can be a part of their community on LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, you can keep track of the job postings by the senior PMs or the co-founders or the HR. Whenever you connect, you can share, you actually need to share a well-defined cover letter. Your resume should be tweaked as per the JD, and the side project link, if at all you have been doing, that should be there instead of bombarding the same stuff as you did for dozen others. So I know that once you are out of a job, or when you're looking for something, it's very easy to bombard the same thing and do a blitzkrieg on every single opening which is there. You can do that, that's not a problem. What will eventually happen if you do that on LinkedIn is that LinkedIn may temporarily block you for a couple of hours or days, or you might end up getting frustrated because you'll say, hey, I applied to 50 places, I did not even get response from 5, because dude, 40 out of the 50 places were totally irrelevant, and you just did it because you wanted to have that thing off your mind that, hey, I applied to 50 places today, whether it is naukri.com or whether it is LinkedIn. So create a pipeline of job postings from the career links of your target product companies. Use keyword alerts for APMs, PMs, junior PMs, but don't randomly go on targeting everything and everything. It may work if you don't have that mindset of getting a reply from every recruiter, because some recruiter might say, hey, I had put out this particular opportunity, but I got this resume and this may fit for something else what we have, which was not declared. It may work, but ideally you shouldn't do non-targeted applications. You should be very clear of what you want to do. You should have a list of your target companies. If you want to apply to Uber, you should go to Uber job site, see what is the current status of Uber. Are they in a hiring position? When they hire, or when they open up hiring, say 3 months from now, these are the positions what they have, these are the skills what they're requiring. Do I fit there? You should have that thought process and work your way. You should have a structured learning path towards getting, or towards getting this job or towards this achievement. And important is that irrespective of in what job you are, you need to collect experiences centered around product. What it actually means is, if today you are a B2B sales guy and you want to become a product manager, just hear and collate experiences of the end user of that product which you are selling from a product point of view. What is the team which is using, liking it, what they don't like, what are their pain points. So you will start having that thought process of a product manager. Now, this is an important thing. So all these things till now, most of the people would obviously be doing. And if somebody doesn't have a job, obviously that person would be day in, day out, trying to get into that mindset of being a PM and keep on applying. So you need to do something different, and that is walking that extra mile. So one of those things is, attend as many as product meetups, not for marking that attendance, of course, but to network, interact, and, try to gain a mentor there. Volunteering with tech startups, incubators, it actually takes time, but it is worth it. You get your hands dirty, you know what are those people trying to build, and that will reinforce and make you sure whether you are in the right domain, whether you're in the right path or not. So Head Start is one example which I'm aware of, which is a community. There are other communities on Facebook as well, which may give you this opportunity. Critical is to be an early adopter of digital products. Criticize it as a PM would. So for example, not recently, but since few months, TikTok is the rage. Recently, Fleets is the new story feature of Twitter. Think about it. I have been part of discussions on some WhatsApp groups where people are asking, is Twitter blindly copying Instagram and the Facebook stuff, or is stories adding value to it? So in groups and communities, 90% people actually just listen, they don't participate. If you participate, what will happen is you will gain a lot in understanding. before writing anything, you will force yourself to think about it, so that PM think tank in your brain that starts tickling, right? That's important to be fired. If you're looking for a job, be very shameless about it. When you write emails, tell and pitch why do you think you can add value to that company. Ask for mentorship if you want in PM in social media groups. I've seen many people, who are very clearly and upfrontly writing that I am preparing for an interview and I need your help. I'll create a case study. Will you pitch in for me? And there are dozens of people who respond. So ask and you shall be given. You need that one skill or one superpower, and whatever that is. When we discussed that T diagram, we talked about that one skill or superpower which you should have. You should differentiate your cover letter with that one skill. You should write and shout it off the roof. Why do you think you are a good fit? And build on that superpower what you have. You can change your CV formats. You can, when I say change, the reason why I'm saying is, obviously there are keyword alerts and filters by which recruiters shortlist. But if you're writing it to a startup founder who says that I read every CV, if he or she sees that you have taken some special pain to change the format of the CV, make it more UI friendly, more, I don't know, maybe UX friendly as well in case it's a video format, all those things help, because the recruiter feels that you are there, not just you are applying not just as a normal candidate, you are there vying for that job. And this is the reason. When you create a video CV, the emotion, the enthusiasm, the energy which goes into that pitch, that may help you, get some extra points over somebody else who is having the same credentials. One other thing what you can do is do a pre-application project when you are sure you want that role. So when I say a pre-application project, it actually means that, do some research for that particular company. So I was talking to somebody over the last few weeks, and it was for an e-commerce company, and that person told, is it good if I do some research for 24 hours and see how people think of this particular e-commerce company on my Instagram channel? You can do. All these small things may not have a direct impact, but it would add value, because the person on the other side of the table would know that how much you are keen for this and the efforts which you're going into. And yes, it's necessary for you to keep track of companies which are in the news, which will take up funding or which have already received funding. And the reason is, most of the companies, whenever they are in the process of raising money, what happens is sooner or later they might have an open PM position. So it's always good that you keep a track and it's there in your agenda. And the last thing what most already do is cold messaging. You can do a lot of cold messaging on email or on LinkedIn. And I mean, this is something what everybody does. Even I did it a couple of years ago. It may not give you that much of ROI, but yeah, it helps. There is something which is very, something which is very interesting. This is simulation. And I did this with over the last few weeks. So this is about role playing, right? So role playing is necessary. This is just like mock interviews. So when you do role playing, when you do mock interviews, what actually happens is you're trying to simulate and experience what is actually going to happen. So take, WhatsApp groups, you've got your family WhatsApp groups, you've got your XYZ WhatsApp groups. So pick up a hypothesis to solve any pain point of that WhatsApp, collect feedback from the users and prioritize it as if you're the WhatsApp PM. So one of the most common questions what people here in interviews are, which is your favorite product? And if you're the PM of it, how are you going to improvise it? And what you don't like it, what you like of it. These are the standard, rack questions what you get. So doing these things, it will also help you understand what others think of that particular product or that pain point, and it will sharpen your skills, because as I said, right, you are the one who is going to ask that why do you want it? And you are not the end customer. The customer is a different species. You don't know what the customer would be doing. That is the reason we need data. That is the reason we do research. That is the reason we do user personas, testing and all. That is why we say data is everything, right? So to know all these things, it's necessary that you create mock interviews, you create role plays, so that not only you understand and you go through that entire life cycle of that of this entire thing. What also happens is, if you see the other point, there are certain things you can't always do in an actual interview. So this I had written because if you have some friends who have got some product management domain friends, what you can do for them is, what they can do for you is, you can ask them to set up some mock interviews. You can comfortably share your weaknesses. You can ask for candid advice. You can take that risk there. That mock interview will be very, very helpful. Of course, there are paid mock interviews as well out there, but it all depends on you. You can go for a free one. You can ask the community. Product Star is a great community. They have got a great paid service as well. You can take this, you can take that, you can do anything. But all I'm saying is, it's always good to have simulation done beforehand. This is an important slide. And before we start, again, a quick question to Linda. Linda, anything for me, or should I continue?
I think I have some questions coming in, but I think you should maybe, how long have you got? Are you approaching somewhere?
Just 2 slides more.
Okay, so let's finish off with your slides and then we'll turn to question answer section. Yeah.
Okay. So this is maybe the single most important slide. When you say that you are a aspiring PM and you don't have experience and you can't get experience, you are in that infinite loop of chicken and egg of what to do. So there is an answer for that. And this is a proven answer because somebody I know got a job recently basis this. So build something. When you say you are a PM and you say that, hey, I love building good products, I love customer pain point solving, where is that proof? How are you proving it? So build something. Today, anybody with an internet connection, and mark the words, anyone with an internet connection can learn and build. You cannot justify that you love to build if you have not at least tried your hand. And when you say you want to build, it's not that you need to build a rocket, right? There are tons of no-code tools available there. There are no-code tools for prototypes. You pick up any problem statement. You can pick up a problem. So somebody I know created a no-code tool, which is an aggregation of all the webinars which are here, because he saw a month or 2 months ago, there are so many webinars, there is no one place webinar. So it's a DIY, webinar stuff wherein, if I am hosting this webinar, I can, after adding couple of input fields, I can just upload it there and boom, it's there. So that person did it and he is not a tech guy. But what did he do? He identified a pain point. He did some validation, some hypothesis, this, that, and that product is there. So tomorrow when the product hits, when he goes to a new interview, he may have that thing to say, hey, I had 2 hours extra during the lockdown period and I built something. So you go out and build. Without building, just saying, I love to solve customer pain points. That's all, it's not appreciated. And when we say, no-code tools, it's not necessary you create something, create something very hi-fi, right? You can create a blog. Creating a blog is not super duper easy. It's easy, but then you need to think what theme to use. There is something known as a cPanel there is DNS. So when you go into that, when you make your hands dirty, you will know the finer details which theory cannot teach. So this will showcase that you are not, so it's not necessary that, you can also give, $5 on Fire or on Upwork and get your blog up and running. But where is that satisfaction of having built on your own? That commitment, that empathy, which you need to have from a developer's end, all that doesn't come in if you are not doing it in your own. So you need to get your hands dirty. You need to showcase to the world that you are, hey, not just theoretical builder, but also you love to build, and you're not afraid of wandering into the unknown. Because when a new product launches, you just have gut and experience and competition. You don't have any data. So how are you going to, extrapolate or simulate? You need to go into that unknown, uncharted waters. So that mindset is necessary. It's also very, very critical that you unlock the value of writing. So as we mentioned earlier, communicating product specs is very, very critical. You need to be a good communicator, a good presenter. So now how do you do that? Do you wait to get a good job and write on me and write that PRD there or write the user story there? No, not necessary. You can open your Facebook page, you can open up LinkedIn, you can create your own blog, you can answer questions on Quora, you can use Medium. There are tons of resources out there where you can go out and write. What happens when you write is, because this is going under your name, you will not write just like that and press enter and publish it. You will read it twice, you will read it thrice. You will see, hey, am I not making any mistake? Hey, is this too long? Hey, am I giving the value prop very clearly? Your communication skills would be enhanced. You may be a great communicator, no doubt about that. But when you write it down there, your product thoughts, it will force you to think, and then you will understand that, hey, today I've written this much, I couldn't write more because I don't know. Then it will tempt you and prompt you to read more on that subject. So it's necessary that you unlock the value of writing and discussion. So when you need to make your presence felt, you need to go on Twitter. That is one place where some gold mine threads are there. There are meetups out there. You can share articles. In Twitter, there is so much of discussion and debate going on. So on with respect to anything and everything, participate in the good ones. Put your viewpoint. Twitter is good because with that 160 characters where you can write, you are forced to write something before you put that 1/n, right? So you again collate your thoughts, to participate actively in those discussions. Another way of actually doing it is create white papers. So when I say white paper, it actually means that think of yourself as somebody who is in the finance domain, non-tech. You want to come into a tech company as a APM. What do? You take up any tech product and start writing things what you think are good and bad, what could have been improved, like a user story. So you pick up any product which you use daily, the top 3 pain points. If you were a PM, how are you going to solve that? Things like that. You can get it reviewed from your peers. You can get it reviewed by community groups. You can do many things, but that will actually have that clear mindset. And these are things which are necessary when you go out and say that, hey, I am an aspiring PM, and this is the reason why I think I can add value to the job. And the last sentence again is taken from the net. It's actually a gold mine when you read it. Understand the vision. Find a problem worth solving to achieve it. Build a hypothesis to solve it, and then validate it as fast as you can with real customers. This is like the typical MVP definition. Rinse and repeat. Do this again and again, and hey, you won't know before that you have become a great PM. Now, the final part of the presentation, which actually says that how to try to keep your hard-earned PM job intact in tough times. This is a very ironical thing, because the next slide, the first sentence actually says that basically you cannot do it always. If your entire division is shut down, then you just cannot help it, even if you're a rock star PM. So just think about, the customer service agents who were laid off, furloughed by Uber. Now, even if you're a 5-star person, if the division is set, you cannot do anything. But there are some things which you could have done before that. As a best practice, it is periodically good to check if you are adding value to your company or not. Now, how do you do that? You can go to your boss, set up quarterly reviews, and see if you are in the top tier or you need improvements to pull up socks. This is not being overcautious. This is simply knowing if the expectations from the management and your bosses and your performance matches or not. Because otherwise you will be still in that, in that bubble where you think that, hey, I'm spending 10 hours a day and I'm doing everything, but dude, that is not adding value to the company. So now who is going to, break that bubble? Your boss might. So go and talk to him. When in crisis, you should try to, take up additional projects, which may mean that you work a bit more, but it will also keep you in the spotlight as a go-getter, as an enthusiast who is ready to take up new things. Many people, many bosses in times of crisis look for people who can, double hat as something else. If you say that you are a PM and you are not going to touch anything else, even when the company needs you maybe to spend a couple of hours a day or a couple of hours a week doing some business development or doing some market research, and you say, hey, that's not my job, dude, I'm not going to do that. In terms of crisis, you may be the first person who is going to be kicked out. So pick up additional projects for that time being. It will give the company a more sense of responsibility that this person is actually somebody who values the company. And in tough times, you need to volunteer to take up additional roles. It may seem like a stretch, but you may survive the layoff, you never know. So there are some URLs from which I taken up information. I think that's it. So Linda, I'm done. And
yes, Amit, thank you so much. You gave such a great presentation, really. You've shared so many tips, yeah, and we'll leave the screen with you because maybe you'll want to come back to some slides for now when you're answering the questions. I'm going to ask the questions from the live chat section, yeah. So people are already, you know, appreciating your presentation, like the product management consulting is saying awesome, awesome presentation, Amit. So yeah, people are appreciating. So let's start with the questions. Manish is asking, change in the domain while switching the job is the big drawback. How to overcome this?
So as I mentioned, so you can take my example, right? And I'm not saying this is a great example to go by, but all I'm saying is it is practical. I was into gaming. I got a job in fintech. So the reason is when you want to change your domain, as we mentioned earlier, you need to be sure about why are you going to join that domain. What is that learning or fresh perspective which you would be bringing? You need to be very clear. You cannot apply in Uber, in Google, in even Product Star or in HBR randomly and say, hey, I don't have a job. Can you please take me in? No, when you are changing your domain, you need to write in the cover letter or you need to be convincing enough to the recruiter on call or in the first round of interview, what is that additional thing what you're bringing to the table, why that particular field excites you, and why do you think you will be able to add value. This may seem like a very high level and philosophical statement, but believe me, if you do a bit of research, it will help you get that correct job, because you just don't want any job. You want a job where you can fit in well and you can thrive. It's not that, you know, I don't have a job for 2 months, so I'm just taking up anything. No, it will harm your career. It will harm your prospects in the long term as well. So while switching the domain, if you are, for example, like me in gaming, if you want to go to say fintech, learn, read about fintech, think of certain opportunities where gaming things can be brought into fintech. Say that you are okay to learn 1/3 or 1/4 of the new things, brush up on new things by reading, have that conversational mindset when you talk, and pitch yourself in that manner.
Thank you. Why Bob is asking, can experience in domains which are part of a PM role like consumer insights, stakeholder management, influencing with authority, and etc., can they be considered as a PM experience?
Sorry, all those can be considered as the PMs?
Can it be considered as a PM experience? If he's done these things like consumer insights, stakeholder management, influencing with authority,
yes,
yeah, I got it. Experience.
Yeah, I got it. So what happens is, so what I'm assuming is the person who's asking the question is not in a PM job right now. What the person wants to portray is, hey, I'm not in a PM job, but I've worked very closely with the product team, and out of the 100% activities which the product team does, 30% of things are these things, and I have done it. So it may not be a PM experience as such, but when you are looking out for a job, and if you are trying to become, you are trying to become a first-time product manager, the recruiter would undoubtedly consider things as part of experience. He or she may tell you that, hey, I can't take it in entirety, but it will obviously add more value to your resume when you are comparing it with other people who have got zero experience.
I mean, can I ask you to switch on your video, if you don't mind, while answering the questions? Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you. Now, Sveta is asking, I come from a background in the development sector. I've taken some websites live from scratch and really enjoyed it without having a background in MBA and ENGG. How can I get into product management?
Great. If you are a developer and if you're passionate about solving problems and you've already done certain things, you are best suited to become a product manager. You don't need an MBA. You just need to, interact with product guys. You need to read up a lot, see videos, maybe take some courses and see that what is that particular 2 things, 3 things which are missing from the work what you're already doing. So as I understand right now, what you might have done is you might have taken some websites from scratch and made it live because you were told to do that. But did you understand the why of it? Did you understand the metric what it was improvising? Did you understand the reason and the business things which is bringing? What is that data which that new website brought to you, which vision and which business roadmap did it get cover. So all those things, if you are able to explain to yourself, you are a PM. You know, it's easy for you to go out there and pitch and tell people, hey, I am interested in product management because of these things. I have done a side project which if a PM would have done. These are the things, right from user research, setting up a hypothesis, creating an MVP, validating, shipping it, iterating. All these things can be done by you. So you are there on track.
Thank you. Shivang is asking, what are some key points someone needs to keep in mind when transitioning from software engineering role to product management?
So there are many things what you can do, right? If you are a software engineer who is already working on, obviously you're already working on products which the product team is working on, you know what is under the hood. You just have to spend some more time understanding, knowing those things, what a product guy does. So as I mentioned, right, in one of the earlier slides, the best way for a software guy to come into product management is do an internal shuffling. Spend more time with the product team, see if there are opportunities, talk with the product leader there, talk with the HR, talk to your boss. First of all, understand the things what I've written. So I'll just take you, I don't know if I can go back. Yeah. So can you see the screen which I was sharing here?
Yes, I can see.
So, you know, and I know on my Facebook group, I have interacted with people who are today not that happy being a product manager compared to they were when they were in the software development industry. So ask yourself these questions. Are you ready to be a PM? It's not that you just want to be a PM because it's a high paid thing or blah, blah, blah. No, you need to understand these are the things that you need to do a tick mark and say, hey, I think I can be a PM because I satisfy these things. Because the downside to this is you may be able to fool anybody and get into product management. But if you're not the right fit, you know, you will eventually exit or you may underperform. So while it is easy for a product manager, for a software guy to become a product manager, you can take up side projects, you can, you know, start thinking like a product manager, and you can ask for internal changes. You can, when you apply elsewhere, you can have this product side projects which you have created. And because you're a developer, that 50-70% of the heavy lift of learning a new language is already there with you. You can be, but more important is evaluate and understand that, are you fit to be a PM? I'm not undermining your skills. I don't know you, but all I'm saying is being a product manager is really tough and tougher than becoming one. There's a lot of soft skills necessary. You may, as a software engineer, be happily coding, you know, burning the midnight oil, being the night owl and churning out great products. Wow. But a PM doesn't do that. He may be doing equal hard work, but in different skills, which include soft skills, which includes communication. He or she may be needed to be in 3-hour-long meeting with XYZ people. And you could have said, dude, in this much amount of time, I could have created a new functionality. So PM role is different. You need to first evaluate and assess whether you are fit to be a PM before you actually go back and say, hey, I want a PM job.
Thank you. Ganesh Jain is asking, how are PRD written for new startups?
So I think we should have a separate session for how PRDs are written.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you know this is not a joke, and I don't want to make anybody feel that writing a PRD is very easy or you know it is child's play. It is tough, and all of us in this webinar would have made mistakes. There is nobody who has written a clear PRD, a perfect PRD in the first round without iterating. Not Steve Jobs, not Elon Musk, nobody. So be very clear on it. The 5 things what I was showing you on screen, these are the basic things which needs to be there in the product requirement document, if you may call it, or in the user stories when you're writing it on Confluence or Tiger or anywhere. These are the things which are needed depending on the, so you asked for a startup, right? So startup is a very, very iterative, ambiguous, high adrenaline kind of place, right? In a startup, I don't think there is a product manager because the product role is taken care of by the co-founder himself or herself. So everything and anything what is there in that which needs to be churned out. So you shouldn't confuse writing a PRD or a user story for a startup. For a startup, it's part of the vision, that roadmap which the founder wanted, and that entire product becomes an MVP kind of stuff. So you may not want to go in the in the tough structure or chassis of our PRD or a user story is written for startup. If your startup is bootstrapped or in the initial stages, everything what you have in your mind, once you have put it there, broken it into an MVP, all those things in that form factor, whether it is any tool link or an Excel sheet or a Word doc, that is your requirement document. Coming back to the original question, PRDs are structured. There are ways of writing user stories. These are 5 points what I have shown, which should be there. There are examples out there on the internet. Even I can share it with you later on. And it depends from companies to companies also, because the end user of your PRD would be the developer and the QA person. If the team is already accustomed to a particular set of things, you can improvise on it, but then you will have to have the bare minimum what they need. And if you are starting it for the first time, you can create a normal template, whatever you feel you need to tell to the tech guy and when you review it along with your stakeholders review it with the engineering lead or the developer and the QA person as well, and have a very informal discussion on what is missing, what are the test cases which are needed, what are the corner stories which are not covered, and then incorporate it.
Thank you. Hashem is asking, while applying for PM roles, how much the tasks and skills change for a B2B and B2C industry?
So I think 30th May was when Partha or somebody had created had started this, had presented in this webinar, and there was a slide, if I remember, difference between a B2B and a B2C PM. So there are differences, and a couple of them are very, very clear. For B2C, the end customer is the customer is the one who is the end customer, right? I mean, who is buying the product would be the customer consumer are the same. For B2B, customer consumer would not be the same. A lot of efforts and skills go into making the product look aesthetically and good. The UI UX stuff in a B2C product, it needs to look wow. It's not necessary. It needs to look wow in B2B. In B2B, what is more necessary is scale, is reliability, is uptime. So there are skills needed which needs to be changed. When you talk about a B2C product, so I have been basically in B2C, so I can tell more about that. When you talk about a B2C product manager, you need to be very clear about, how the look and feel is there, how it appears on mobile, how it appears on laptop, desktop, how are the users interacting with it, and then the KPIs. But B2B will have different KPIs. There is a different set of thinking and thought process which are needed, and it is also the affinity and the ability of the product manager to tweak his skills into becoming a B2B person or vice versa. Not all B2C people would love to be a B2B product manager and vice versa.
Okay, thank you. Sukrit is asking, I'm a product associate. I continuously feel I'm drifting more towards data and project management and not into product strategy. Any suggestions on where to draw the line and stick to the role of PM and keep it?
So to repeat the question, Supreet
Yes.
is
He's a product associate and he's continuously feeling that he's drifting more towards the data and project management and not into product strategy. Any suggestions on where to draw the line and how he can stick to the PM role and keep it?
Got it. So let us break this question into two parts. So first is about product strategy. So believe me, in majority of the Indian companies, product strategy is something which the CEO along with maybe the head of the product does. A regular product manager, a group product manager, or even the lead product manager or a senior PM need not necessarily be involved in product strategy. So if you are expecting to play a role in product strategy, you may not get it always. It may be there in some companies, but most of the companies, product strategy is already there, defined by somebody who is the top boss, along with maybe the head of product or the VP of product. The question which I think is bothering you is, you are a product associate and you are moving towards project management, whereas you want to become more of a product guy. So the way to clear, sorry, the way to, clarify and, keep this separately is, first of all, you need to understand in the company where you're working, is a product culture present there? In some companies, what happens is they may say that this is a product manager role, this is a product management company, but it will all be program management or project management. You need to slowly bifurcate the roles. If you are too much involved in product operations or project management, and if you're not able to talk to your consumer, if you're not able to, do user listening exercises, if you're not able to look at data or write user stories, you need to have a very clear understanding what you want to do. Now, if you are clear that I don't want to go into project management, I want to become a product manager, and this is the value addition what I am going to give, have a candid chat with your boss. Discuss with him or her that, hey, I'm doing these things. Well, I want to add value to the company, but this is what I don't think is, enjoyable for me. I want to increase this metric. Talk in a positive way instead of saying, hey, I don't enjoy doing this. Say it in a positive manner. Say, if I spend my energy and time in creating better user stories, talking to users and getting more data and improvising metrics, even if you're improvising metrics by say 1% conversion on an e-commerce checkout, you never know the amount of revenue which it will, uptake. That is much more important for the company compared to you doing a project management job. So have that conversation in that manner. Underline the value addition you would bring to the table in case you are going to do a product role, but it's necessary that the current project management stuff, what you're doing, you may need to, put your feet in both the boats for some time before the boss is convinced that you are doing a much better job in product management, and that is how you can go on. So important to notice, product strategy is something which every PM does not get to do. Let us face the truth. Product management is said and told that it is there in companies. Not all companies practice it. And if you are into project management, you need to be very clear, have a discussion with your peers or maybe your boss and understand what you would want to do. Take the conversation ahead in a positive manner instead of, blaming, or instead of crying hoarse saying that I don't want to do this. Instead of saying I am being ineffective here, say that, I can add more value to these things if I pick up XYZ.
Thank you, Amit, so much. We've got really lots of questions today, but just that because of the time pressure, we need to stop here with the question and answer section.
Sure.
So, guys, we still have your questions, so we're gonna forward them to Amit after this presentation, and we can get the answers to you through the WhatsApp chat section. Okay. So, Amit, could you please switch off your screen, and I'm gonna wrap up my presentation with a few slides.